All right, huge move for the Indianapolis Colts ahead of the NFL trade deadline. So we bring in our expert. That would, of course, be Jake Arthur of Locked On Colts and Roundtable Sports. Jake, let's get right into it. All right. The Colts trade a 2026 first, a 2027 first, A.D. Mitchell in exchange for two-time first-team All-Pro, two-time Pro Bowler, 2022 Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jets cornerback Sauce Gardner. Immediately improves this football team. Your
Mhm.
initial reaction is?
My initial reaction is like we already knew they were buying themselves and that they were all in, but this is really it. This is by far the richest trade we have ever seen Chris Ballard make. He did give a first for DeForest Buckner back in 2020, but this is an in-season trade, giving away your next two first-round picks and doing it for a corner. They totally believe that I think their Super Bowl window is realistic this year. But look at it the next couple years, you know. I think the implications of this is that Daniel Jones is back. Because if you're giving away your next two first round picks, that's what you would use on a quarterback. So Daniel Jones is going to get re-signed. You also got to assume this means Alec Pierce is going to get a new deal as well if you're sending A.D. Mitchell out. So my initial reaction is, wow, all chips in. You hopefully get Mooney Ward back in a few weeks against the Chiefs. That's when he's eligible to return. So you got Mooney Ward on one side, you got Sauce Gardner on another. That's two former All Pros. And you know, if you're going to compete for a Super Bowl in the AFC, you got to pay to play. You've got an offense that we think can compete with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, but now you have a defense that should be able to counter them as well.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of different schools of thoughts here, but since you brought up Chris Ballard first, I want to start there. Stingy is the word I would probably use
Sure.
to describe Chris Ballard
Yeah.
during his tenure with the Indianapolis Colts. As far as free agent ads, he's focused on building to the draft. And to his credit, 7-2, pretty much the whole team is guys he drafted. So got
Yep.
to give credit where credit is due. He's drafted guys who stuck around and who are making an impact on this team. But as far as free agent ads and trades, hasn't exactly been a Chris Ballard situation to do that. So to a guy who really values the draft to be willing to give up two first round picks, what does that say about the urgency maybe he feels and like kind of justified us as a media beats thinking of like, okay, this is you got to show us something this year and how he feels about this team and its ability to compete this season at 7-2 a week before the bye. Like, how impressed are you? Or your reaction from the willingness to do this by GM Chris Ballard?
I've got to imagine this is whatever version Chris Ballard has of burning the boats. This is it. Like, because that's always been his fallback is, okay, well, I can use this first round pick next year. I can build through the draft, blah, blah. He's giving away the most valuable assets that he treasures so dearly. And I think it's a real show of faith in Lou Anarumo as well. I can't recall a coordinator on any team ever that has been given as much of what he wanted. And I think a very frustrating thing for the Colts too, has been Lou Anarumo's done a terrific job with what he's been given. He's been given a lot of resources, but as you and I both know, the injuries have been insane. Look back at week one when they were like at their healthiest. That was a dominating performance against a team with some explosive weapons and the Dolphins. And you're trying to get that feeling back. You want to give Lou as many resources as possible. We know that coverage and pass rush work in concert. So now you have, when everyone's healthy, you have Sauce Gardner, you got Kenny Moore, you got Mooney Ward, you got all three of them. You're probably going to play a ton of press man coverage, which is going to benefit the pass rush as well. They're going to help buy each other enough time to get the job done. You can also kind of get weird with your coverages and stuff too now in the secondary. Earlier in the offseason, you and I talked about Shane Steichen having the most at his disposal he's ever had. Well, here you go, Lou Anarumo, because this is the most tools you have ever had and may ever have.
No question about it. I think this immediately improves your football team. And let's not make any mistake about it. The group, whether you can talk about overperforming, underperforming different position groups on this team, but the group most decimated by injury has been the defensive backfield. And it's been
Yep.
dating back to training camp. Justin Wally was getting first team reps and didn't even get a chance to play in this season. So that's really tough. Travarius Ward is currently on the IR. Kenny Moore has battled injuries. You've had practice squad players playing meaningful snaps this season, and you've gotten relatively lucky, A, because of how well the offense is performing, and B, the level of competition has been relatively low. I would say, not taking anything away from the Colts 7-2 record right now, because they've earned every bit of it and they've looked the part of a team that's one of the best in the AFC. But this immediately improves your football team, because I think you would agree that Cam Bynum and Nick Cross have been playing pretty well on the back
Hmm.
end there
Yeah.
as safeties. And then you have Kenny Moore making plays out of that slot corner. And then you have guys that are proven, like Charvarius Ward when healthy and Sauce Gardner. I think that changes the math. And something that you've said and Shane Steichen has said is that the defensive linemen and the defensive backfield need to work in concert, right? Like play complementary together. It helps out the D linemen when you're getting time because of coverage sacks, quote unquote. And it helps obviously defensive backfield when you're getting to the quarterback as a defensive line. I think some people would argue that edge to maybe the layman was a bigger need for this team, but can you help
Hmm.
explain maybe why this helps that group and, second year, first round pick Latu, like something I just said in a video I just did was like maybe on average, guys at corner like Sauce and Travarius Ward give the defensive line a half second to a second more on average to get home. Like, does that help them? And what do you say to people who say that defensive lineman, maybe an edge, was a bigger need for this team at the deadline?
And I would agree. But sometimes that just doesn't work out and you're going for the next big swing, but there's kind of layers to it. So the Colts under Louis Anarumo, they really wanted to try and play more man coverage this year. And you have to have really good physical, lengthy corners to do that. But because of all the injuries they've had and everything, Charvarius Ward being out and everything, they've had to rely more on like their fourth and fifth corners. Like the guys who started last week are probably going to be fourth and fifth when everyone's healthy. So you have to play more zone coverage. When you're playing more zone coverage, you're more reliant on your four-man pass rush to get home. The quarterback has about as much time as he wants to get rid of the ball because there's not someone locking up receivers. So it just gives quarterbacks more time to throw because there's not someone smothering the receivers out there. So if you now have this, you're able to use more man coverage. Well, it has to make the quarterback wait longer to get rid of the ball now because the receiver has to get disengage from the person covering them now. So you now have two of probably the top dozen press man corners in the NFL on your team now. You're able to kind of funnel things to the inside. Quarterbacks don't love to throw inside as much, but now when you do, you have Cam Bynum in the backfield that's able to kind of police things and make plays on things that are happening in front of him. And then with the coverage, when the receivers are having to take longer to again disengage, well, now your defensive linemen have more time to get to the quarterback. So it all works together. Um, in my eyes, edge is a bigger need. All if you're going to pick between the two, you need to get a pass rusher first because it's just more important. But I mean, there's still like an hour and a half left. We don't know if they're done. But if they are done, like this is still a big move. It still absolutely helps what they need.
Yeah, no question about it. Who's to say, a player to Sauce's caliber was available on the edge to be traded? I mean, Chris Ballard always
Sure.
says it takes two to tango, right? And
Hmm.
even though I think any help on the defensive line is helpful. Doesn't have to be, a player worth two firsts or anything. But you're right. There's still time at the time of this recording. There's still time to make a move if you're the Colts. Okay. On the trade itself, on paper, it looks like a haul, right?
Yeah.
2026 first, 2027 first, AD Mitchell. Um, just, just quickly, like my kind of thought process on this is you're near the upper echelon right now. It was a win now type season. So to me, the 2027 first shouldn't even factor in the decision if you're Chris Ballard because you're like focused on the here and now. Okay. And the here and now tells me this team is probably picking mid to late 20s if it continues this way, barring an epic collapse. So I'm okay giving that up. And as far as AD Mitchell though goes, a guy with a lot of potential, a guy we talked about a lot in training camp, and I thought had a really good training camp. But really, since that Los Angeles Rams debacle, wasn't involved in this offense hardly at all. Had to earn his way back, Shane Steichen said, and maybe was in process of doing so. But, the guy I think he was drafted to quote unquote replace at the time anyway, Alec Pierce is having a career year. And I don't think Colts fans could stomach not having him back on this team. So you got Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Warren. Too many mouths to feed, and A.D. Mitchell wasn't one of them. So when you go through it like that, two firsts and A.D. Mitchell, I'm okay giving it up. It feels like it could be a win for both teams. What do you think about the sheer haul of the trade as it relates to getting Sauce Gardner? Is it worth it? Too early to tell. What was your gut telling you there?
Yeah, now I'm a draft nerd, so anytime you lose a first round pick or two, it hurts. But for what they're expecting, I'm okay with it. Like, this is a move that is legitimate. We think we can get to the Super Bowl move. And it also opens up their Super Bowl window for the next couple years. Because although Sauce did sign a huge 30 million per year contract this offseason, it's not that expensive this year and next year. So like it opens up things quite a bit. So if you think you're getting to the Super Bowl because of this move, okay. Like fast forward a year, 2 years, the Colts have won a Super Bowl in that time. Do you care that they gave up two first round picks if you're a fan? You don't.
Yeah, really well.
You'd give up the next two also.
Mm.
So if it gets them what they think it's getting them, I don't care. And then as for AD Mitchell, it's unfortunate it didn't work out here. I do think he could be a good player for someone. I've even made comments recently. The Colts obviously have the luxury to be able to bury him on the depth chart right now. They have other guys that can play. But if he went somewhere that needs him to play at wide receiver, he could flourish because
Yeah.
the guy just needs snaps. And let's not act like he was terrible. The game that got him in the doghouse, he almost had 100 yards. Like
Right.
the mistake was that he was too confident getting into the end zone, scoring a touchdown. Like the guy's good. The play he made on that play was incredible up until. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily love that his quarterback situation is Justin Fields,
Right.
but I think AD is about to ball out. Like the Jets need him to play more than the Colts do. It just didn't work out here. It's very unfortunate that it didn't work out here, but I mean, I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to do good things in New York.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. When he gets ample volume, I think there's a serious chance he could be very good. Because remember, getting open was never the problem for
No.
for AD Mitchell. Okay, he could get open with the best of them. There's no question about that. All right. Well, and then the other thing too, you kind of mentioned it there. I think another plus on this trade, which is why I'm okay giving up two firsts, is Sauce just signed an extension. Like
Yeah.
that's huge for this team. It's a young guy who's already proven he can play. Like you don't have to worry about the cornerback position for a while through 2030, if I'm not mistaken. That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive there. And so that adds to kind of the I can sleep at night if I'm Chris Ballard making this move. No question about that. All right, just like last thing here, moving forward, Colts are 7-2. They're going. I don't know if Sauce is going to play in Germany. I was talking to a buddy here, and I'm like, you don't even need to know the defense. Just like, how about you shadow Drake London,
Yeah.
and we'll do the rest. I don't know if that's possible, but that'd be pretty great. But just moving forward, Colts are 7-2, game before the bye week, and then second half of the season gets a little more difficult with, trips to Kansas City, trips to Seattle. You got to play Jacksonville twice, Houston twice, 49ers on Monday Night Football. Does this change the trajectory of this team? Does this change your outlook on this team? I mean, certainly this defense, but what's kind of your thought process after, a couple hours of this trade happening of what this could mean for this team moving forward?
I think so because you're about to get into a really tough stretch of the schedule. Like you mentioned, you have your four toughest AFC South games still. Nothing against the Titans, but the Texans and Jaguars were going to be tough. You have the Seahawks, who might be the best team in the league. 49ers are nothing to sneeze at. Like you got tough matchups coming. And then, of course, the Chiefs. And like I mentioned earlier, you have to have an offense that can compete with the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomeses and Lamar Jacksons when you get to the playoffs, but you need to have a defense that can combat them as well. And then so just fast forward when you have Mooney Ward, you have Kenny Moore is obviously there, but then you have Sauce. You have a full complement of your defense, and you can enact the wrinkles and things that you want to, it's the world of possibilities is endless for this defense. So I think we were all going to feel a bit iffy about the team moving forward if they didn't do something today. Like we were going to feel good about the offense. You know, the Steelers game, it was what it was. They laid an egg there. But that defense, it just came off a good performance. They essentially held the Steelers offense to 3 points. The Steelers scored 24 of those 27 points based on the Colts offensive turnovers. So I feel much better about this team now than I did. I wasn't down on them by any means, but I felt they needed to do something. And they did. And so this is a move that helps your entire defense. You've already got arguably the best offense in the league right now. So it's go time for them.
Yeah, no question about it. You got to give credit to Chris Ballard. I mean, this is it's a ballsy move. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But I respect it, and I can certainly stomach the haul. I think the
Yeah.
more and more removed from the trade I get, I think you say AD Mitchell becomes just an absolute stud. A, good for him, but B, like we're saying, like there just wasn't. I have faith that like Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren and Josh Downs are going to remain being good and
Yeah.
being valuable assets to this offense. So it's no disrespect, just feels like it didn't work. But if you had told me when you had drafted AD Mitchell with a second round pick that he would one day become an asset to acquire Sauce Gardner, I think I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
So totally agree. I mean, there's some seriously good quarterback receiver combos coming down the pike this second half of the season. So we'll see how this changes things for the Colts, but really appreciate you hopping on. I mean, this is a big day. It's big news. Defense needed help. They got help. And maybe before people start watching this, there will be another move on the defensive line. We don't know. But
We'll see.
Jake Arthur, everybody from Roundtable Sports and Locked On Colts, appreciate you, sir. Your insight is the best. Keep it locked on Channel 13 and right here on WTHR Plus for all your Colts coverage. We'll see you next time.